Hello, hello, and welcome to the Unplug Meditation Podcast. I am so excited to have Shirley Suleiman, who is one of the top teachers at Unplug Meditation. Many people call her the guru of stress and anxiety. In fact, so much so that whenever we have private clients at the studio and they specifically say, I'm struggling with stress and anxiety, Shirley is our go-to. Welcome to the show, Shirley.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too.
So, I wanted to ask you a few things. I know that World Mental Health Day is going to launch on October 10th.
Mhm.
And the biggest issue that we're seeing right now in the pandemic is the problem of stress and anxiety. Can you talk a little bit about that and like how you're handling that for some of your clients, your private and also in the classes?
Yes, it's really interesting because when the pandemic first hit, there was a lot of stress and anxiety. And I found there was a cycle where after the 2-month mark, people moved into depression, where they were in lockdown and they felt isolated. So it seems like the stress and anxiety has different cycles about it and with it. And not only are people stressed about the pandemic and the fear that is attached to it, but they, interestingly enough, become more stressed about the things that they were stressed about before. So what happens when we're in lockdown is there's nowhere to run or hide. Anything that was beneath the surface in this period surfaces. And so people are dealing with a lot of stuff from external to internal, and then it's deeper. And that's not only for themselves, but for whatever relationship dynamic they may have with the person they are stuck in the house with, romantic partner, family, on their own. So the stress and anxiety has expanded on many levels and in many areas. And like I said, then the depression came in.
Mhm.
And now people are just more confused, fear of the unknown. That's the common theme because there's no end date. No one knows what's going on. They feel disorientated, basically. So it's all
And
the above.
you are a certified NLP practitioner, you're a certified hypnotherapist, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, who you are now and what you do in your life?
Who I am now.
And then we'll get into your crazy story.
The question. What I do is, yes, certified clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, of course, meditation and mindfulness teacher. Who am I now is a person that I feel have overcome a lot of challenges and obstacles in life, and even reactive depression, which I know you want me to talk about in a minute, from my childhood and upbringing. And it is my life mission to allow other people to experience the transformation that I had experienced, because I'm living proof that it's possible. And I want them to know that there's a choice, that there's another way to be rather than anxious or depressed. Basically, that's, in a nutshell of my intention with my work.
So you've been working in this field for a very long time, and a lot of people will look at you and they'll say, gorgeous, probably doesn't have a care in the world. You're just so calm, so relaxed, so present, so easy to be around, so happy, so much fun. I mean, these are just some of the things that I hear about you from the thousands of people that meditate with you every single day via the Unplug app, Unplug Live, Unplug in the studio, and also now you're on Beachbody On Demand, which is you're in French, you're in Spanish, and you're for the hearing impaired. I don't know if you know that, but that's so cool.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But when they would look at you, they would honestly never know that you've had struggles in your life and that you've overcome them. And if you could overcome what you have, it really gives hope for the world. So I would love to hear your story. And if you could share it with everybody, that would be amazing.
Well, when I was 5, my parents had a terrible fight, one of many. But from that fight, they divorced. And to say it was a bitter divorce would be an understatement. Basically, they had a fight. My brother and I were sent to our grandparents. This was in Indonesia, where I was born. And when I came home later that night, at the age of 5, My dad was standing in the doorway and he said, "Your mother's gone. You no longer have a mother. Go upstairs to bed." And I didn't see my mom for 18 years growing up. I was sent to Australia. My brother and I were sent to Australia for good Western education and to keep us separate from our moms. Basically, a lot of things happened that were very traumatic to a child, being separated from our mom. My dad only visited around 10 days of the year. So I had lost my mom, lost my dad. I was raised by my grandparents who were, they weren't your, let me make you a nice hot cup of cocoa type of grandparents. They were very cold, staunch, traditional Chinese grandparents. So it was a hard childhood. I didn't speak English. I looked very different from everyone else in this very homogenized neighborhood. I basically lost everything I had known and loved, and that's a lot on a child. My brother couldn't handle it, so he then turned to anger and being physically abusive in addition to everything. So basically what happened is I started to form reactive depression, which is like situational depression. So when someone is depressed based on external factors as opposed to genetics. And the outcome is still the same. You're depressed. I would go from melancholy and deep despair and anguish to sometimes, bits of joy when I was laughing with my friends or the days when my dad would visit. But it was a struggle for many years until I was around 16. And all I can think of in this moment is it's like a spiritual awakening. That's the only thing I can think of because nothing logical or rational explains it. I was just walking on the school grounds, just being my old melancholy self. And I was about to go into a rabbit hole of depression again. And something happened, like it wasn't an audio voice, but a voice telepathically with the whole of my being. It just said, "You can do that, or you can choose differently." And I got it with every molecule in my body. For the first time, I realized that I had a choice as to how I would respond to anything, to my past, to life, to all of the tragedies that happened, to my depression, and to that moment. So I chose differently. I didn't choose depression. I chose the better way to feel. And I didn't understand what happened. I just knew a couple of things. I knew that I was changed for good. And I knew that one day I would understand it better and I would help people with whatever I went through. And I feel like that day's here, or the last few years, or my practice has been last 15 years. It's part of my mission, basically. And it's not that nothing challenging has happened since that time when I was 16. It's that even though I have my ups and downs, I always have this awareness of choice. That there's always another way. We just need to remember and realize it. And when we do, that's our liberation from suffering, emotional suffering. So if I could do that, I know you can do that too, basically.
That is like the most profound story that needs to be shared with the entire world.
I'm actually writing books, Susie. Funny you say.
Let's do it. I always say let's, meaning I'll help you and then you take it off. So I love when the teachers at Unplug write books. Like that to me is the happiest day. But you have got to write this book.
I am.
The idea that you can go through something like that, where your father comes home and says you no longer have a mother, but your mother isn't dead.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no explanation and no reason. How old were you when that happened?
5 years old. So I lost my mom, basically. I grew up without a mom. He didn't remarry, so it was just me and actually it was just me because there was no one I could reach out to emotionally for support. Mm-hmm. The wonderful thing with that, because I always like silver linings.
Yeah, tell us the happy story.
In addition to the turning point, whatever I'll call it, awakening, the fact that I had no strong role models actually allowed me to create who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize this till hindsight, looking back at my childhood, when people said, "Who were your greatest influence? Your mom, your dad?" No. And I thought my imagination, my dreams, my idealized self. I visualized my best self from a very young age because I kept thinking, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? I had no influence. And I just put all the best things of everything that I saw and had known from people around me, from television, no social media back then, but all of that. And I just formulated it. And that all contributes to everything that you see today. The calmness, the joy, the positivity, it seems like it's effortless, but it's not, but it's worth the work is what I want to say. Whether it's meditating regularly or doing the work, the hard internal work, it doesn't hurt. And the reward is so great, and it doesn't go away if we don't do it. It just is there, like it's under the rug.
Shirley, do you think that anyone who is in that, what did you call it, reactive depression? Reactive depression can recalibrate on their own? Like, how do you, or with your guidance, like, how do you help someone who's in that state, who doesn't hear the voice? And I also want to hear about the voice and what you actually think that was. Do you think that was yourself? Do you think that was God? Do you think that was outside of you, inside of you? I'm curious.
To answer
a little more awareness about it.
Right.
I just want to hear your thoughts on all of those things.
Okay.
All of the above. I can listen to your story all day long.
Oh,
I'm sure everybody else could too. It's unbelievable.
Thank you. Which answer do you want first? The voice or can anyone voice first? To be honest, the honest answer to the voice is I don't know 100%, but it could be all the above, or as with anything, like in quantum physics, what they say, what you believe is true. So we can say it's our inner being, or we can say if someone is religious, it's God. If someone is spiritual, we can say it's source or the universe. We can say it's our best future self coming back to help me. In fact, that was an experience I had during hypnosis training. It's hard to explain now, but I get people to go back there's no time, space, reality, and you go back to your childhood and you help that child. And funny enough, that was one of the moments that I visited and helped that 16-year-old girl. So it could very easily be that, but maybe it's all the above. Maybe it's beyond what our intellectual mind can grasp, and it's difficult to label because it's beyond intellect. And there are some things that we just can't intellectualize, or we don't do it justice. Or like how we can't see things, like we can't see energy, we can't see gravity, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. We can't see miracles, but they unfold and we enjoy the outcome and result of it. And I feel like it's the same. It's in that same category. I never saw it. Like I said, I didn't hear it on an audio level. I heard it with the whole of my being, like telepathically. And what made it amazing was it wasn't intellectual, because I hadn't read any self-help books then. That started my journey. I then explored meditation from the age of late teens, 16, and anything I could get my hands on, because I thought, I got to know what happened to me. That was amazing. So that's the answer to that one. And leading to your earlier question, I got to know what happened to me, is partly, yes, curiosity and a need to understand. I have that inquisitive mind. But also there was a part of me, I knew that somehow one day I could help people with this, because that transformation was so extreme. It was like a 180. That's why it just feels like nothing short of a spiritual awakening. It was different. And every molecule in my being did it and got it. And I shifted. That's it. So what I've tried to do is actually capture that moment and break it down. And I do that with my clients, sometimes students too, and I'm writing a book about that. So that's all going to be in the book.
What's the title of the book?
I believe it's going to be Let's Calm Together.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, thank you.
That's a great title. And the book party is going to be an unplug for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Come to the book party. Book it now.
Everybody who on here is invited. VIP access to the Shirley Suleiman book party.
Nice. Yes. But I want to answer the other question, Susie, that's really important. Can anyone, experience the breakthrough or the healing? I believe yes. Can you do it? Yes. The question is, will you do it? Because if I, like I said, experienced it, I know I had the awakening, but you still have to maintain it, do the work, surrender to it in one sense, because life out there just can push us out of alignment very easily. So it takes that awareness, commitment, and focus to stay aligned and to remember, oh, there's another way, to not be trapped in the drama, basically. Mm-hmm. So I believe anyone that has reactive depression can get themselves out of it, because reactive depression in and of itself, like situational depression, is because of external factors. Mm-hmm. Which means before they happened, you weren't like that. I was probably a happy child from memory, and I believe inherently we are peaceful, joyous beings, whole and complete as we are. Mm-hmm. And then these things happen, sometimes worse than others, and they can scar us and affect us. And for some people, they think for life. But I just want them to know that that's not true. It may feel like it at times, but there's no such thing. We always have an opportunity to restart, to begin again, and to heal from it if we want to. And they can do this on their own, possibly. It takes a lot of work. I don't know. It just makes it harder if they really can, because I think we all need help. But try it. And on their own could mean maybe just that and meditation and whatever makes you feel good and calm, maybe. Mm-hmm. But for most people, they need some help, like some sort of therapeutic work on some level.
Well, they should come to you. If anybody is suffering from reactive depression and you need someone to help guide you through it, Shirley would be the person to send to. We send a ton of privates to her, and we book privates all the time, and she always is a sure thing. So please call us if you need someone. We'll help you, guide you through that. Shirley, the story doesn't end though at you being able to help yourself. You actually reunited with your mom, right?
I did. After
talk a little bit about that.
That's interesting, because after 18 years of being without her and hearing all sorts of things, as you can imagine, from my dad's side of the family, I worked through the different phases of grief on my own. So I did that teens. And by the time I saw her when I was 23, I had fully come around and I had forgiven her. But I really needed to see her, and I wanted that closure. And I thought it was closure, but we actually have a relationship now. So it wasn't at all. It was the beginning of a new phase, which is, just so beautiful. When I saw her, I thought I would be angry. I thought I'd be upset and all this stuff. But all I had for her by the time I saw her was just this overwhelming love. And I was just so happy and grateful to see her. And she was crying. I started therapy then. She was asking for forgiveness and saying she never should have, abandoned us so easily, meaning there were things happening, the divorce, but she thought she could have fought harder and, all those things. And I, practically gave her a little bit of therapy.
One of your first clients.
Yes. Amongst my family members were definitely my first clients. And it felt really rewarding. I, probably intuitively felt my calling then, just to realize I could, I'm not even angry or bitter towards this woman. I just have love and compassion. And I said, all you need to do now, Mom, it's already happened in the past, but she has 2 new kids with a new husband. I said, just be there for your 2 children. Be there for them as best as you can as a mom. And that's it. That's all you can do for me. Because she said, what can I do for you? So just do that. Just do that.
Okay. So that is huge. That you could not only move beyond your depression and choose how you would respond to it or engage with it, and choose a different path of who you wanted to be instead of what you wanted to be, who you wanted to be. That's a huge thing.
Yes.
And that you can help guide other people to that place. And we've done so many interesting meditations together. Now, of course, I want to do 100,000 more based on but the idea that people aren't really hearing this. I don't know if we did Future Self with You. Do we have that on the app?
I did a workshop, but I don't know if we did that on the app, but we should, huh?
We need to do that. But the idea that a lot of teachers do this incredible meditation where you can actually see your future self, engage with your future self. But what Shirley is saying is that she thinks she may have done that and then actually revisited herself at 16 who had that awakening. So that's kind of an interesting concept.
Yes.
To be able to go back and weather yourself, which is
absolutely
amazing. Wow.
Yes. And I think that's an integral part of healing for a lot of people, because our formulative years happen 0 to 7. And then, of course, other things affect us after that age. But a lot of the wound, if you will, takes place during those formative years and childhood and upbringing. So it's vital. That's why a lot of therapists talk about your inner child and wounded child and things like that. People think, oh yeah, I understand it now. I know why it happened and I've reframed it and all this stuff. But it's not the you now that needs the healing. It's the child that got hurt. Things affect us and they stay in our bodies unconsciously. It's like a software that runs until and unless we visit that software. You got to get a good software engineer and we start to change it. And that's what I do with the hypnosis. Go into that software and just begin to change the software. And as part of that often is visiting that inner child and saying to it, you know, that it's okay and whatever it needed to hear, everyone's different, and help that child heal. Because then you get it at that deep level. And that's when you can then just work through your life and make that shift experientially, not just conceptually. You know, that's what I'm about. I'm about tangible results and our experience. Because, you know, there's a lot of information out there. It's one thing to know it or understand it, but another to really go through it and experience it and heal from it tangibly.
What age would you say is the age that it's okay to get hypnotized? Like, how young can you be?
I don't think there's an age limit necessarily, as long as they can hear me, understand me, and can do the practice. You know, hypnotism is not necessarily how you think it looks, because we're in trance a lot of the times. In fact, kids are probably in trance a lot of the times when they're daydreaming. Yes, unfortunately, when they're doing social media stuff. But, you know, we're often in a light trance. Like when we're driving and we get from point A to point B and we didn't even think about it, that's a light trance. When we are indeed reading a book or computer or laptop or our phones, we're in a trance because we can read and things can be happening in the room. Someone can walk in and out, but it doesn't grab our attention unless we let it. We stay transfixed on that thing. Right? Or sometimes when we're eating, and for many people, unfortunately, comfort food, they're in a trance. Before they know it, they think, how did I eat that whole box of chocolate chip cookies? I wasn't even, right? So that's all trance-like behaviors.
Right.
So kids can easily get into trance. I've actually helped a few children. I think the youngest one was 9 years old. She was around 9.
Wow.
So yeah, and she was great. Sometimes with kids, it's even easier because they are great with their imagination. They haven't had the filters yet, you know, so I get them to play and get them to imagine, because our unconscious expresses itself in imagination and metaphors and feelings. So I access that to communicate with the unconscious part of us. With adults, sometimes, you know, you're going to go through more layers. So with kids, when the layers aren't there, we just play, you know, I'll get them to draw, which is a common popular thing. And then I'll just translate, interpret their drawings and colors used and things like that.
What's your favorite technique to use with people who you see have serious stress and anxiety? Because the truth is you really are the go-to person for stress. When I think of stress, I actually think of you, because
that can be misinterpreted, Susie.
And I'm not going to say you're stressed. I'm thanking you for relieving it. You're like the Tylenol for stress without having to medicate.
I love that. That's great.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think of you like the Tylenol for stress. One, and I'm done. And I don't know if it's your hypnotic voice when you teach, what it is that you do, because people take your class and they're like, I don't know what she did, but I feel 10,000 times better. But what would you say for someone who's listening to this, they can do for themselves on their own when they're feeling severe stress or anxiety?
Mm. What would be effective and yet something you can do on your own is, well, firstly, the knowledge that we have good stress and bad stress. So good stress is eustress, spelled eustress. Bad stress is distress, distress. And I'll tell you in a minute why this is important. Eustress happens when we're doing new things and adventures, falling in love, traveling, eating yummy food. And bad stress is when something is translated as a threat in our brain. So it then becomes bad. But here's the interesting thing. We have the exact physiological response, whether it's good stress or bad stress. It's our mind that makes that translation, and then we turn that into our experience. It colors our life experience. So if you know this information, then hopefully you'll know that at any time when you're experiencing stress, even anxiety, you can reframe it. You're already experiencing it anyway. And I've done this a lot, got clients to do it, especially performers and artists before getting on stage, and they love it. And when you're experiencing that stress, just say, I'm going to make this good stress. Or actually, rather than anxiety, I'm going to turn it into excitement. Because it's just that. All it is our mind talk. And once you do that and you practice it and you realize you can, at any time, just do it. Oh, I'm really stressed. Okay, this is because I'm excited. I want the adrenaline. Okay, I want to get these tasks finished. I want to get that deadline finished. I want XYZ, whatever it is. Oh, I'm excited, And just that, if you just keep repeating that, then it starts to become the reality. Your brain stops translating it as a threat and it starts saying, oh, okay, we're good. I guess it's good stress. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Good.
Wow. Well, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about your classes and Unplugged that you do on live stream and different ways for our audience to kind of access you?
Sure. I teach the 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, meditation and hypnosis for stress relief, for many reasons that we've just explained. And 1 p.m. on Friday, I teach a happy class. It's a happy half hour. And I love that class because I love happiness. Happiness is one of my passions, anything to do with happiness and joy. So the idea of happiness class is that, to me, to remember, similar to what we've been talking about, that it's within, that you have it, it's available and accessible to you. And unlike the trappings of the external worlds, it's not something that you need to depend on out there to happen. Nothing you need to have, be, do, live up to an expectation. None of that. It's just really getting you to return back to you, to your inherent whole happy being.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just can't think of a better way to spend your lunchtime hour. It's your happy half hour.
I love that.
Better than happy hour. No side effects. You can still drive if you want to.
I love that.
And if you want to have happy hour, you can.
Good. We need to put that on the app too. I don't know if we have that with you.
Oh, we don't? Okay. We need to put a few things on.
I know. I'm going to, after this, need to book you for 5,000 things. All right. When is your book coming out? The book that isn't done yet.
Yes, the book that isn't done, I am writing. I'm working with an editor. So I'm thinking I'll finish it 2021, I mean.
Okay.
I'll let you know 2021, and then we'll see. There's so much that I want to put into it, and it's exciting. I'm excited about it. I have thought about it for a while, but I don't know. I know you've written a book, so I don't know how long you thought about it. I've thought about it for a while, and it's just about sifting through how it would be and the summary of things and things that'll be really helpful to people. All the things that we've spoken about, that can really help people. And I want practical applications in one area, but I want the good stories, my stories, and maybe a couple of case studies, all anonymous, of course.
Right.
Just to make it interesting and for people to realize, oh, there are others suffering and they can get over it and they can transform. Okay, well, I really do have hope, and there are so many different situations. I mean, that's the thing. I never treat anyone the same because I don't think any of us are the same. There's no such thing as a textbook approach. So, but just know wherever you are, there is a choice. That's the main thing.
I love that. I just want to end there. So hopefully you guys will come experience Shirley Suleiman on the Unplug app, Unplug Live, or you can book a private with her if you want to experience massive transformation. So thank you so much. And
thank you for having me. Nice to chat with you.